what is it that's kind of maybe driving negative emotions of anxiety or depression and kind of tracing back to what am I trying to accomplish? And if it's okay, I want deep, fulfilling relationships and I'm in situations where I'm not getting those. No, it's really taking that power in, whether we're talking about relationships, online technology, of not just being, oh, this is what I have, but being willing to asking that question of what am I afraid of and am I willing to put in time and effort and potentially not good feelings to work through this to get to what I do need.
Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Melville Kashan. I'm the Community and Content Director here at Sexual Health Alliance. And today I'm with Vaughn Paradise. Welcome, Vaughn.
Hey,
Thanks for being with us today.
of course, I am happy to be here.
So, if you're watching this, I want you to stay tuned until the end because Vaughn is going to answer this question. If you had to swap lives with any fictional character for 24 hours, who are you choosing? And what's the first thing you'd do? All right, Vaughn, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, let's see. So I'm Paradise. I exist as a therapist, musician, um, other creative things, writer. And yeah, right now I am based over in Minneapolis, Minnesota, originally from East Coast. Eventually, I'll probably end up at the West because I hate snow, but so far I am content here.
Yes, fabulous. So, as I mentioned, you're going to be presenting at our annual sexological conference this October in Denver, Colorado. And your talk title is Parasocials, Anime, AI, and Sitcoms. So, can you tell us what does that mean? What are you going to be presenting about?
Yeah, so I'm gonna present on the phenomenon of parasocial relationships on two levels, both from the audience to creators and characters, versus, as well as how the audience impacts those creators and writers. I think a lot of times we get into how are we shaped by media, and that's probably one of my main backgrounds within just the therapy and research side of things. So within the presentation, I want to kind of dive through within sexual relationships as well as platonic, how might our expectations from these different media sources be molded? But at the same time, how do our expectations impact the people who are creating said media within both constructive relationships, but also within like a lot of the almost cannibalistic, equally burning out that can happen.
Yeah, that is so interesting. So, can you give us an example of this, like maybe using like a popular show or something?
Yeah, so I think a great example would be I think within, especially within, let's say, sitcoms and anime, there's this element of like the power of friendship and having this almost expectation that, okay, once you're grown up and you're gonna have a job and you're gonna have this very large apartment, usually in a major US city, and there's gonna be these are like your core friends who you're gonna spend so much time with. And what's been really interesting, especially after 2020, I'm guessing probably with just how much people were staying inside, of almost this uptick of people with oh, well, I feel like I should be able to overcome this problem because I'm putting my will to it. Or, oh, wow, I feel so lonely because all these relationships just haven't fallen into place, but I'm an adult and they should be into place. And even within just sexual relationships with not just that cliche, but also get somewhat real of what are expectations, but also even within just how does dating work and consent and communication. And a lot of times there's this sense of feeling like people are farther away than they are, but sometimes also that we have closer access to people. And how does that then translate, not just from the screen, but then also within just sometimes like the parasocial relationships just with like our coworkers and people down the street.
Yeah, and that's so interesting because like the first two shows that came to mind for me were like Friends and How
Yes.
I Met Your Mother.
Oh, yeah. How I Met Your Mother primed me for a lot of disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, like Ted is in his 20s and he's an architect and like he's mega successful and like, and so it's just like that's just one example. And same thing with Friends. I mean, growing up watching that show, like Ross is a paleontologist. Everybody's like mega successful. It's like, it creates these like unrealistic expectations for your life.
Yeah. I think like the only sitcom I feel like that's fully ever answered that was the Looney Tunes show sitcom cartoon where they justified, oh yeah, we have this giant house and we don't go to work because Bugs Bunny created a carrot peeler and is just living off of the royalties. But I think that's the only show that I think has given us like a realistic, oh, this can't be, I can't do that. I
Right,
guess I
right.
probably maybe, but
Yeah,
um,
definitely. Yes. And so how does AI play into all of this?
yeah, I think with I want to talk about two different types of AI. I think the type that comes to a lot of people's mind within like the learning models like ChatGPT, where
Mhm.
you have these systems that can respond instantly. You can train them to have different characteristics within their voice and how they respond. And I want to hit on a couple of different cases, both within how that might impact people, whether we're talking about like increased in like let's say catfishing
Mm.
within fake profiles, but then even on top of that, within people who are getting a lot of their emotional, sometimes sexual needs met through these AI chatbots, and on what are some of the pros of that, but then also what are some of the potential cons, or how might having this almost magic box with that can fulfill every fetish, every kink, every thought within seconds. How does that translate to real life relationships and the pro and cons? But also want to hit on some of just on the back end of AI that we don't often think about within just what are the different algorithms that are working behind the scenes within YouTube, within Tinder, within Hinge, and I think it's just really interesting seeing, especially when you pan the camera out to like corporations who want money, um, slash shareholders, and then the money, and then all that stuff. And then how does that then train to how are the different artificial intelligence running these apps and then almost kind of controlling us and our expectations? And then how do those then impact who we are as a person? Um, and I don't know, it's just been really interesting just seeing both how fast technology is evolving, but then in so many ways, how brain and society struggles to keep up with just humans already struggle to make good, healthy choices since the beginning of time. And it's always like, okay, well, this is the easier route. And now that easier route is literally within pockets reach. Um, and let's kind of dive in a little bit more within yeah, how does this impact life?
Yeah. I saw something on social media the other day and it was like about catfishing, but like they had spelled it like CAIT, like using AI. And so what the person had done is they had like, they used pictures of themselves, but AI enhanced
Oh
them.
yeah.
So it wasn't just like a filter, it was like a straight up AI enhancement. And then I guess they had also used AI like within their chats to like make themselves sound better. And then the people met in real life and it was the girl who had done like the AI catfishing and the guy was like, "Okay, you don't look like I thought you would look like. You don't talk like you did in your messages," because she had been using AI throughout this whole interaction.
Yeah, and kind of grounding so much of that, definitely with teens and young adults, seeing how much, I guess, I feel like within the US culture, at least I'll limit myself to there,
Mm.
you have how much anxiety and isolation is impacting people, and then add in 5 years ago of like oh, you don't have to talk to people. And everybody's inside. And then seeing now that people are older and kind of coming into both communication with peers within sexual relationships. And yeah, what does that mean to almost hold that anxiety of I don't know what to say, but I'm going to take a risk. And a lot of that kind of goes into a good half of, at least on the clinical side, I'm doing exposure therapy, um, both within OCD and phobias, but then also within social anxieties and other things, where so much of that is distress tolerance, which is different than I'm not going to be anxious. Where it's say, okay, we can burn some of that anxiety out, but it's not a fun process. And kind of getting into that AI piece, where is that line between this is a helpful tool versus this is a bandage so that we don't have to like actually fix something that needs to be built up or repaired?
Yeah, yeah, that's such a good point. And so I was wondering if you could give me a couple like pros and cons. So if we're speaking of the impact technology has had on relationship, just based on your study and what you've researched, like what are some of the pros and what are some of the cons?
Yeah. So I think some of the pros that are first coming to mind is a really good diving board for information and to be able to talk through issues, particularly even just whether we're talking about things that might be more sensitive regarding like sex and or we're talking about just how do I ask a girl out, where especially with just how Google has just kind of rotted over the years with just all the ads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Even just trying to find, okay, an article without tons of sponsorships, it can be really difficult.
Right, right.
So I think AI can be really helpful within those situations of a good starting point. It's like, okay, so this is what ChatGPT is saying, but now let me either attempt to fact check this or practice this with that little asterisk of this might not be accurate. I think another positive, I think on just a holistic level, we're talking about the behind the scenes of a lot of websites and apps would be tools to help people navigate and use that technology better. Because especially if we're just talking about internet or YouTube, where you're just going to be bludgeoned with so many different things and being able to have technology to help limit that to what your brain can actually handle and process.
Yeah.
Um, I think it can also be a really helpful outlet if we're talking about within a sexual context of I want to have this conversation. I want to talk through these different things. I don't feel comfortable or safe going like a sexting with a stranger out, or maybe I don't have a partner, or my partner is like, you need to outsource this. For some people, that can be a really helpful tool to just kind of add onto the shelf next to toys and all the other things.
Yeah.
Um, I think the cons start kicking in when people take aren't aware of how AI works or what it is actually doing.
Mhm.
Um, Such as I think it's really interesting with the number, especially I'm working with a lot of college students now, and I have yet to encounter any of them that can walk me through. So tell me, how does Hinge and Tinder's algorithm work, except for the lie of pay us more money and we're gonna show you more people. Um,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people, I think the cons are taking it at face value, not knowing fully how this works, and then ending up getting manipulated, whether that's through paying more money for something, um, and not really narrowing into what is it that I'm trying to accomplish by using this tool, using this device. Is this the most accurate way to do so? And is this impacting how I am interacting in my other relationships? Um, in I don't even want to say the real world because all worlds are real. Within my physical life.
Yeah, and I think that's a missing link. I think when we're teaching kids to be like tech savvy, kids, young adults, teenagers, we're teaching them all these things, about how to use technology, or they're just naturally learning it. But we don't teach them the part the algorithm plays, and the algorithm is showing you things. It thinks you're going to spend more time on the app viewing, or they're trying to get you to pay money, and it can really influence the things that are showing up in your feed.
Yeah, and within that feed, there also then comes insert dopamine, and that both within even is how the different colors and fonts and stuff like that paired with just, oh, this is something I like, scratches an itch, let me keep pumping this in, paired with that sense of immediacy, where I think when we're talking about, I mean, the three things that are coming to mind, even from conversations this week, are that, okay, I'm struggling to find real connection with a human being. Let me just jump on Grindr and find a hookup. Uh,
Mm,
or, okay, I really am bored. Let me just go on YouTube, see what's the first thing here. And even just that concept of slowing down, of I can't remember what the data was, but it was a very small percentage of people that actually use YouTube's watch later playlist, and
mm,
very few people actually type something in. It's mostly just what does the home screen or the sidebar show people is where they're clicking. Um, and carrying that over, I want to kind of one of the things I'm currently researching between now and October is seeing how people use these different platforms then translate into a lot of the dating pool. 'Cause I know the same stats for YouTube would be similar to a lot of sites where it's what's here, um,
mm.
versus that, okay, are you actually turned on? Is that why you're here? Um,
Yeah.
and what does turn you on? Or are you just letting whatever is, quote, hot in your country dictate your preferences, or and then wondering, I can't seem to please my partner. Um,
Yeah.
insert the loop.
Yeah. So like what you're seeing is people are using things that were traditionally used like as a search engine, like YouTube, like how to fix a kitchen sink. I don't know.
Yeah,
Instead of like looking that up, they're just like opening it up like maybe you would Instagram or Facebook and just scrolling. And you're
yeah,
you're thinking that's the same trend on Pornhub or like those
yeah,
other like sites too.
yeah. And
It's
what is surprisingly cool is, albeit who knows the true details of what's being reported, but how it was one of the most um what's the word I'm looking for? Clear, or is upfront with all of their data and statistics.
Hmm.
Whereas a lot of the major tech companies and social media or media sites, you have to either dig or find people who quit. Um, so that's been really cool, just kind of seeing, like I think like every month, definitely every year, they have like these are all of our statistics on like categories and how people use the site and stuff like that. Um,
That is
yeah.
fascinating. Yeah. All right, so I like to leave people with like a takeaway or a tip. So we can, t spin this around, take it back towards like technology and relationships, and maybe this could be, I know we have a lot of parents out there watching, with like their teenagers and young adults. Do you have like a takeaway or a tip related to relationships and technology?
Yeah. I think the takeaway I would leave with is whether we're talking about would be asking the question of what scares you, and obviously filter and reframe the question depending on who you're talking to. But whether we're talking about a parent to their child, friend to friend, or even you to yourself, of kind of seeing what is it that's kind of may be driving negative emotions of anxiety or depression, and kind of tracing back to what am I trying to accomplish? And if it's okay, I want deep, fulfilling relationships, and I'm in situations where I'm not getting those, um, It's really taking that power in, whether we're talking about relationships, online technology, of not just being, oh, this is what I have, but being willing to asking that question of what am I afraid of, and am I willing to put in time and effort and potentially not good feelings um, to work through this to get to what I do need.
That's a great tip. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to our question, our fun question for the end. If you had to swap lives with any fictional character for 24 hours, who are you choosing? And what's the first thing you do?
All right. I first person that comes to mind, I was going to say Nightcrawler from X-Men. I'm going to edit that to the protagonist from the movie Jumper, who could also teleport just because he has a longer range. Um, I think the first place I would go would be Japan, and then I'm hitting Australia, Europe, and kind of just seeing how, trying to line up the trip to hit as much places and make as many connections as I can within that 24 hours. Um, yeah,
I love it. Teleporting and traveling.
yes.
Amazing. Vaughn, tell us what you thought of last year's annual conference.
It was probably one of the most fun, but also educational um conferences, events I have been to. Um, And I think when I had gone, I had been trying to get a better sense of what is sex therapy. And I talked to some programs and they were just, I'll say, not helpful to questionable. So I was like, well, let's just see what Shaw's all about. A coworker said something. And then both the people and the environment where it was, okay, we're learning things and I'm leaving here a better clinician. But at the same time, it's, oh, I've made friends versus just we all of us sitting quietly looking at PowerPoints, taking notes you're probably not going to read again, but it was very engaging and I don't know, it felt kind of like, oh, this is a fun vacation, but I'm also learning things. Um, yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. And I mean, that's our goal. Like, we want this event to be fun and exciting, not boring. And we want you to feel like you're leaving as a better clinician, a better professional. And also, we like to foster that sense of community. Like, you're leaving with friends and you're connected now with people who you have things in common with, you share passions. And personally, I love your journey of last year you're attending and now this year you're presenting. That's super cool.
Yeah, and jumping into the program in between.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, jumping into the program, of course. Yes. All right. If you would like to see Vaughn present live in Denver, Colorado, please join us for our annual sexological conference happening October 9th through 12th, 2025. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for watching our video. Do us a favor, share this with someone who might benefit from this information. Your support helps us reach more people with important sexual health information. If you're passionate about this space, we know you'll enjoy these videos, so check them out. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and remember, you are exceptional.